welcome to art class. My name is Josie Owens and I am an art education major at Eastern Kentucky University. I'm working this semester with Miss Robin New to deliver instruction to you all virtually. And so today we're going to be doing our Friday enrichment opportunity. As I'm sure you all are familiar with, because of the way the block scheduling works, our Friday assignments are optional. However, I am beyond excited to work with you all on this fresh, contemporary art content, and I would encourage you to participate to the best of your ability. This won't be necessarily graded, or you won't lose points for not completing it, but I would encourage you again to push yourselves and to explore new ideas through our weekly enrichment opportunity. So today we're going to talk a little bit more about Nick Cave. Now, I know throughout this past week that you have had many discussions about this artist. I'm going to pull up a presentation and we're going to go through a small recap before getting to your prompt. After your instruction this week, I'm hoping that you all will recognize Nick Cave's sound suits. As you can recall, Nick Cave created these sound suits in all different sizes and scales. I would ask you at this time to perhaps put in the chat or recall to your memory what elements of art Nick Cave used specifically in these works. I know that one of them is texture. In fact, you can see specifically on the right the stuffed animal-like limbs coming out of this very, very tall wearable sculpture. On this piece, you can see the fur-like texture displayed in the headpiece that looks almost as soft as if it were on a real animal. The next largest element in Nick Cave's work is movement. Few other artists employ movement in the way that Nick Cave does. We're going to watch this video to recap. So as you can see, his pieces are designed in a way that the texture of the material used would be enhanced by movement. Movement is not something that all artists consider when they're making. They may consider it in a 2D piece by painting a wave that looked like it was moving through the space. But when creating 3D art, movement takes on a whole other dimension. This is something that you might want to consider in your project today. Here's this quote. I'm going to read it aloud, but I would encourage you all in your separate spaces to read it aloud also. I find that verbalizing words helps me to remember them and also analyze them better. So here we go. I don't ever see the sound suits as fun. They really are coming from a very dark place. The sound suits hide gender, race, class. They force you to look at a work without judgment. That was Nick Cave from Thick Skin in October of 2016. So right now I want to open up a question to you, and it's really open-ended. I would encourage you to reply in the chat or to think about this question in your own time. But what do you truly think about his work? I know personally when I first saw them, I thought that they were incredible. The detail, the different materials used, the scale, all stood out to me as incredibly impressive. But after I read that quote and began to research more about Nick Cave, I learned that his work was not only beautiful and magnificent to examine, but also had a very, very deep meaning. Nick Cave first began making the sound suits in response to the Rodney King beatings. I would encourage you to look into those if you're interested in learning more, but the situations with which he created were not that different than what we are creating in now. Very similar is the Rodney King beating to some of the instances that have occurred in the Black Lives Matter movement. And I think if you were to do some more research independently, you would see some parallels. So today, in honor of Nick Cave and his groundbreaking work, we will also be designing our own wearable sculptures. So, what is sculpture? I have listed here that it is 3D, and I have listed some of the materials that you can typically make a sculpture out of. So it includes clay, wax, fabric, plaster, rubber, but in particular it includes found objects. If we were in person, I would ask you all to raise your hands and tell me what you think a found object is. But because we're apart, I'm going to show you some found objects that I could work with in my own home. One of them is this 2-liter bottle. Another one could be a bottle cap. Found objects are exactly what they're called, things that you find. There is no limit, there is no parameter with which you have to try and find these specific objects. It's something that you have access to. And in modern sculpture, found objects are a very common theme. But with sculpture, materials can be also carved, modeled, molded, welded, sewn, assembled, or shaped and combined. This third bullet refers to how you attach your objects or how you manipulate them. So with clay, you could sculpt or carve it. However, with found objects, you might want to sew or assemble them together. So, I have included an example of a wearable sculpture. This piece is a large bear made from wire, worn on the shoulders of the creator, Elizabeth Barron. Her personal inspiration had to do with personifying the inner spirit. And her wire sculptures are both large, detailed, and fantastic. So, as we prepare to design wire sculptures, I want you to first consider a central concept or message. Your message could be, my dog is cute and the whole world should see it in an extravagant outfit. Or your message could be more sensitive to current events, such as something that Nick Cave would work with. It could be in response to COVID-19. You could do it based on a mask. A wearable sculpture is simply a 3D piece of art that can be attached or adhered, or in other terms, worn. It doesn't have to be worn by you. You could design this for your pets, for your siblings, for dolls. You could even design this for a fictional character. You could have a particular anime character or TV star in mind for this particular piece. But I want to remind you that the term design references drawing. So you do not have to create a 3D model of your wearable sculpture, but I would like you to get out a pencil and some paper and sketch what you would do. Because this is a sketch and because you don't have to create it in real life, I don't want you to limit yourself with materials. Your materials can be imaginary. It could be made out of pixie dust or water. It could also be materials that are real if you do decide to construct this and allow someone or yourself to wear it. I look forward to seeing your finished pieces, and I'm going to instruct you on how to upload them in the next slide. But first, I want to leave you with some questions to consider. Will your design be an entire costume? Would it be a piece for just your hand? Would it be a set of earrings? How is it going to attach to your model, and where would it attach? Is it going to be a shoulder piece like Elizabeth Barron? Is it going to be a cape? Is it going to be something that they step into like a pair of pants? Don't neglect to consider color. Although this is a design and you'll probably use pencil and paper, feel free to use markers or colored pencils or crayons to show what colors you would include if you could make it in real life. I don't want you to forget about the art elements we discussed this week: texture and movement. Those can be drawn in 2D art, but I think that they're the most impactful in 3D art. So as you create your designs, think about how it would move if the person or animal was walking versus dancing versus fighting. And the final question I want to leave you with is, would you want to construct this sculpture in real life? Is this something that you could see yourself making? If you decide to create a 3D model, so to actually construct it, I would encourage you to take a video and insert it on this slide. I will be sending this slide out, this slideshow, to your teacher, and so you would upload it here because you will have editing access. However, if you decide to do a drawing, you can take a photo and you can also upload it here. This slide can be duplicated as many times as needed. And the final thing that I'm going to talk about on this presentation is the student feedback. So I know that I'm pretty new to virtual learning, but that you all are not as new as I am. You have many classes simultaneously, you're doing this all day. I want to know from you what's working and what's not working well. Do you not like presentations? Would you prefer no video at all and just the assignment prompt? Do you have any recommendations for what I could do that would make it more engaging or more exciting for you? And then finally, is there anything you do not understand? Because that would need to be addressed sooner than later. If you have any questions as to what sculpture is or what your parameters are, feel free to reach out to your teacher, Miss Robin New, or myself. I will say that you can use anything. You can use a pen, a pencil, colored pens, and you can use any kind of paper. When I was sketching my design, I used the back of a piece of mail. We don't have thick white paper at my house, but our mail, especially the ones that we throw away, is pretty thick, and so I use that. So don't limit yourself based on materials, and try to get a design that you enjoy, based on texture and movement, and inspired by Nick Cave.